Brothers and sisters, I once heard that when Mother Teresa finally left the relative comfort of the Sisters of Loreto to take to the streets of Calcutta, she realized she had some coins in her pocket. As a result, she quickly went and gave them away to beggars on the street, so that it was clear she was relying on divine providence alone in her new ministry to the poorest of the poor on the streets. Having some money of her own, she reasoned, would show a lack of full trust in God to provide for the new ministry. But if we think about it, even after giving that small amount of money away, she was still taking with her something much greater. For in truth, she was offering all of her mind, her heart, her soul, and her strength for the service of the poorest of the poor in India. In a sense, she gave all that she had, and then she left the rest to God. Brothers and sisters, do you notice how sometimes in the Bible there are long stories or accounts or parables that are over many verses, and then hidden among them or between them are one-liners that seem to be just thrown in without a thought as to whether they tie in with what has been said before and after? In this week's Gospel, we have Jesus throwing in, let's say, 2 one-liners in between a story about the enemies of the Son of Man sowing darnel among wheat. While the 2 one-liners, one about a man planting a mustard seed and the other about a woman mixing yeast into flour, are references to the kingdom of heaven, they don't seem to tie in at all to the story about darnel growing side by side with wheat, a story of evil residing side by side with good. Anyway, putting all of that aside, I want to skip over that big story of the day, the wheat and the darnel, and focus on the yeast a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour till it was leavened all through. So, brothers and sisters, why is the kingdom of heaven like the yeast a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour till it was leavened all through? Let's break it down. St. Jerome, in his reflection on this gospel passage, writes, "The yeast signifies love because it causes activity and fermentation." Okay, first point. The yeast that raises the bread in the kingdom of heaven is love. Anyone who knows anything about Mother Teresa knows that love was the driving for her ministry. When Jesus spoke through a beggar the words, "I thirst," she so desired to satiate the thirst of Jesus through those very same beggars, so much so that "I thirst" ultimately became the motto of the Missionaries of Charity. A sister of the Missionaries of Charity's order was called to go out and satiate the thirst of Jesus in the poorest of the poor. As we know, Mother Teresa responded to the thirst or destitution of the poor with unconditional love and mercy. St. Jerome goes on to explain that one of the possible explanations of the 3 measures of flour that Jesus is referring to are the 3 things in man: with the whole heart, with the whole soul, with the whole mind. As I said earlier, though Mother Teresa went out onto the streets like a beggar, with not a cent to her name, she carried with her something more valuable and powerful than money. Second point, she gave all of her heart, mind, soul and strength to God's service through the poor. As Mother Teresa's work involved the destitute in the slums of Calcutta, no one should have known about her work. But like an uncontrollable Californian wildfire, news of her work spread to the ends of the earth, bringing copious fruit, including vocations to the convents and the priesthood. When St. John Chrysostom reflected on this passage, he wrote, "As yeast changes into its own kind much wheat flour, so shall you change the whole world. And so yeast is kneaded in without being destroyed, but gradually changes all things into its own nature." Third point, Mother Teresa had the yeast, the love, but she had to knead it in, that is, apply it, in order to transform the society in which she was living. A journalist once asked her, "Why don't you do something to overturn the social structures which cause all this poverty?" She responded, "I can only help one person at a time." How was it that one little woman like her, who only helped one person at a time, could transform so many lives? She took the tiny portion of yeast allotted to her, the love in her heart, and kneaded it through society with all her heart, mind, soul, and strength. Fourth point, God did the rest. So, brothers and sisters, what does this all have to do with us? Well, a lot actually. Mother Teresa is the perfect example of someone small and insignificant. A pencil in the hand of God, she called herself, who took her allotment of yeast, kneaded it through 3 measures of flour, and bore fruit for the kingdom in abundance. So then, what are we doing with our allotment of yeast? Are we for our part kneading that yeast, that divine love, by passing it on to those most in need around us? Are we helping to build up and make visible on earth the kingdom of God by fulfilling our unique missions, no matter how mundane or seemingly insignificant, with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength? No matter how little we have, let us put it all in for the service of the kingdom, remembering the other one-liner in today's Gospel of the mustard seed. The smallest of seeds grew into the biggest shrub of all and provided shelter for the birds of the air. Let us all pray today for a holy desire to give back all the yeast allocated to us for the building up of the kingdom. I doubt that Mother Teresa ever looked back and lamented her suffering, but instead rejoices in the glories of the kingdom of heaven, surrounded by all those multitudes of beggars on whom she showered God's love and mercy.